Did you two watch New Japan Pro Wrestling's Wrestle Kingdom 9 Tokyo Dome show? If so, favorite moment? No, I have not watched it yet. I am 100% certain it's fantastic. I grew up watching a lot of these. Not grew up, but I spent the past... I didn't watch a lot of U.S. wrestling in the 2000s. I watched a lot of Japanese wrestling, so I'm interested to see where it is now.
I'm happy I tracked it down online, not legally. I know that bothers you, but no. I had to check it out because pro wrestling, if you don't know, in Japan, it's treated like a serious sport and how it's covered and how the fans look at it. Obviously, they know it's worked, but they raise to it like a level of respectability that's not seen in the U.S.
Right.
And that comes through in the product. They treat the product like it's a sport.
Mm-hmm.
The rankings of wrestlers, win streaks, losses, they reference wins and losses constantly. They don't usually do that in U.S. wrestling. They don't usually bring up a guy who's on a losing streak.
The only time you ever see weird sets is like the Rumble. You'll be like, this guy was really good in last year's Rumble and the year before, but you don't see
They don't treat it like going back like a sport and saying this person won, this person beat this person, him, or lost. They do that in Japanese, at least in New Japan from what I see, because again, it builds some sort of believability of this is a sport. They care about wins and losses. They care about chasing championships because it's prestige and it's money. And I love that. I wish they had that in WWE. They don't have it really at all. The importance of titles, where in U.S. wrestling, usually it's the World Heavyweight Championship and everything else is crap or doesn't matter. Right now, the U.S. Championship means absolutely nothing in WWE. The Intercontinental Championship changes hands every other month. Doesn't mean anything. They go out of their way to make sure that the Junior Heavyweight Championship means just as much. The Junior Tag Team Championships mean just as much. And so, what was good about it, obviously, these are the best wrestlers in the world. Like when you look at the card up and down, there's it's not like this is a crappy match. Every match was good.
Right.
Even they had like the UWF unified rule, which they have matches in Japan. For those of you who don't know, where they treat them like UFC mixed martial art matches, where it'll be matches where it's a submission or knockout to win. To change it up, they even had that, and even that had psychology that was interesting to it. So they had they actually hired Jim Ross to do it. Global Force Wrestling, which is Jarrett's running, who's helping to like bridge the gap between all these different international wrestling entities, and he teamed up. Jarrett actually wrestled on the card as part of the Bullet Club, which is like their version of the NWO. Right. And so Jim Ross called the action with Matt Striker. They did a good job. Jim Ross isn't the best at calling out play-by-play like moves, but he did it enough to at least push the story about who these wrestlers were and why you should care about it, especially to a first-time audience.
Well, and that's why I admire Jim Ross. Is at the very least, he gives a shit about it. He's trying. He's not collecting a paycheck. Jim Ross loves wrestling.
Yes.
He was. I mean, if you followed him on Twitter, he was really excited to be part of this.
And Matt Striker, I'm very surprised, and it's a shame that WWE fired him because Striker was really coming into his own on color commentary. Really, like old school color commentary, telling you why certain moves, why wrestlers were using certain strategies, what they were doing to body parts, things like that. That really is a lost art that you haven't seen since like guys like Jesse Ventura would go down that route. So he was good adding the flavor of a lot of the moves that maybe JR didn't know the names to, but also adding in more of the details. So they worked very well together as a team, and I watched most of it. I didn't watch all of the event, but no, I was very, very, very impressed, not knowing who most of these wrestlers were, and just seeing how they acted in the ring and having JR and Matt Striker put over their characters. It was enough to get me into the matches. And Kenny Omega, I've seen his work before. Awesome wrestler, Kenny Omega.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch the card, look for his match. I saw Kenny Omega wrestle an 11-year-old girl, and it was an awesome match. He obviously worked with her, and go find it. Look for Kenny Omega versus I think it's like 11-year-old girl, 12-year-old girl. It is awesome how they put together a match, and like they, as realistically as they can do a match between them.
Right.
But Kenny Omega is a very cocky sort of character. Some of his matches, he actually uses like a Mega Man move where he like pauses time and then attacks the person, like stuff like that. So I was happy with it.